This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, everyone. Hope you all had a refreshing long weekend and now ready to dive back into learning. So, welcome to lesson 4 of our course. So, before we begin today's session, let's quickly recap what we covered in our last class. So, we started with break keyword and how it helps exit loops when needed, right? And then we explored nested loops and their applications, and we introduced functions, a very important concept of programming language, and then we discussed global and local variables, understanding how variable scope works. So today, moving on to today's session, we'll be exploring modules. What is a module and why we use them and how they help in organizing our code, and then we'll introduce data structures, list concept, so understanding lists, their features, and how they help in storing and managing data efficiently. So I'll share today's collab with you all. So I've shared the collab. Let me share my screen. And is my voice clear for you? Put a thumbs up if my voice is clear. Okay, great. Okay. So last class we stopped with this activity, right? I wanted you to try an activity for creating a calculator using functions concept. How many of you are able to do it? Are you able to create a calculator with user-defined functions and conditional statements? Like if you are able to do it with any other concept also, it's okay. You can just put like again thumbs up to tell me like if you are able to do it. So we'll quickly discuss about this. Then we'll start with module. So to create this user-defined function, we have to use the def keyword. Then we just can give any function name. So we just wanted to add two numbers with an operator, like whatever operator we provide. If we have to give plus, we need addition of those numbers. Then if you give subtraction, then you have to get the subtraction of those numbers. So we just used if, elif, else statements where if operator, like this is O which we have given here, if O equal to plus, then we want to return A plus B. So we've made it very simplified. You can make a complicated calculator if you are interested. So here we made a basic calculator. If elif is subtraction symbol, then you return A minus B. And if any of that, if you give any other symbol, then you just have to return invalid operation. So if I just run this and call the calculator and give numbers like 5 comma 7, and I'm going to give operator plus, then you are going to get the addition of it. And any questions here before we start with module? So you can explore more about this calculator. Okay, so then let's start with what is a module. So till now, whatever functions we have used, like print function, input function, so we didn't use any prefix to it, right? So we didn't imported a module or something else onto your uh, laptop, and then we have to use the function. So we directly use print function, input function. So there are some functions in Python which cannot be used directly. To use such function, you first need to import a module in which that particular function exists and then use the required function. So for all practical purposes, you can say like, module is a collection of some special functions which are used occasionally. So the syntax for a function which we have to use from a module, you don't have to again by heart anything of this. So with practice you understand which functions are to be imported and from where we have to import and all, because like by hearting such things becomes very difficult for us. So the syntax is just you have to write import and then the module name from where we are actually importing it. There are thousands of functions. We cannot actually remember this, but with practice, all the important module names and function names, we just get used to them. So we'll do one function today. So you just have to write module name dot function name to use it. It's like a surname and the full name. So when you have to import a module and then use that particular function, then when you are using a function, you first give the surname, like, the module name, put a dot and the function name. And the most important points here is like always import a module at the very beginning on your code, and module needs to be imported only once. For one collab you are using that particular function 15-20 times, you don't have to import each time. You import it only once, then the next time for the collab, like, you can use it by module name dot function name. You don't have to write this import like usually when we get used to all this, like when we are doing the code in the starting itself, we import all the required modules and keep it. So, and then a module needs to be imported only once. However, everybody has to import a module at least once at their respective ends. So if I have written import module and run it on my end, if you are running it on your end, you have to run it from your side too, at least once. Then the dot operator is used to call a function from the module. So very simply, you can I always give this example for a module. Like if you go for any library, if all the books are unorganized and if you try to fetch a book, it becomes very difficult. But if the library is organized, if you have labels everywhere, so these are 8th standard books, these are 9th standard books, these are books related to science, then we can directly go fetch the book. So it's the same thing in the backend of Python. There are a lot of functions. To organize them, they have put it in modules. All the related functions are, like for example, there are functions related to randomness or random. All the functions related to random are put it into the module called random. So it's like organizing the functions in the backend. So you can say like module is a collection of some special functions which are used occasionally. So let's use one function called randint function. So it's used to generate a random number between whatever start and end numbers we are going to give it. So we are going to generate this die roll. So we play this Ludo games and all where we need a die. So we can generate this die using Python now. So for this, if I just use this random function, if I just like, the functions task. So each function has its own task, right? The task of this random function is that, so you give a start number and you give a end number. So each time I run this, it randomly has to give a number for me. So there are a lot of like random functions which you will which we'll see soon. For now, we are trying to understand the concept of module. So don't get carried away with what are the different functions available and all, because according to the purpose, according to the code, we are going to learn few functions. But yeah, don't try to remember this function names and all. So if I just write the function name, I saw like, we got the error, right? Because this is a function which is placed inside a module. To use it, I just have to import first the module name, which is random. Then I can now, random 9 comma 6. Uh, now also like, after importing, it will throw error because the syntax is the module name dot function name. So it would work only when you write the module name dot function name. So each time I run this, so you can see that different random numbers between 1 and 6 are generated. So like if die is not available, you can write code and also you use this particular code as a die for playing games. So I can just save it in some variable to die roll equal to random dot random. So when we start learning NumPy library, we are going to see like a lot of functions with different like how to handle random values with different functions. So Any questions here about module? Is it clear? So yeah, and you may get a different number as an output every time you run the code above, right? So you can change the, now to use it again, I just don't have to. What would be the output, anybody? 20, 40. If I just run this, what would be the output?
Random number between 20 and 40.
Correct, random number between 20 and 40. And both 20 and 40 are actually included. So we cannot give a particular number. So this is how a module works. So, and so we have to import a module just once before using its functions. We don't have to import it again and again. So let's go to the concept of Python list. So before that, let me ask you, like how many values we can store it in a variable? How many values we can store in a variable?
One.
Only, right? So, but there are a lot of cases where we have to store multiple values. So it doesn't make sense like we start creating 100 variables for 100 values to store in it. So we have a concept called data structure where we can store multiple values inside a single variable in an organized way such that the values can be easily accessed and modified. So there are different data structures. We are starting with a simpler one, which is Python list. So soon we'll explore what are tuples, dictionaries, so on. So for now, you can understand that Python list, like the list we used in regular life where we write all different items. So we create a list of groceries and all. So the same way, list in Python is a data structure which is used to store multiple values inside a single variable in an organized way. So why we are calling it organized way, you'll understand it soon. So Python list is a data structure which can contain more than one value at a time. A value in a list is generally referred to as an item or element. So any value inside the list, we can now call them like item or element, both are okay. The same way like functions, like the functions we have created, we can call it like functions or methods. So we are used to call it functions. So functions and methods, both are same. So let me just. So you can even call it function or method. So, and Python list is created using the square brackets. Each item in a Python list is separated by a comma. So we are going to create it. Then we'll see what are the key features of Python list with examples. So for now, first create a simple Python list. I'm just creating a list, giving a variable name for it, and I have to create a list using square brackets, right? I give a square bracket and then I write multiple values in it. So list of one. So this is how a simple list can be created. So I have stored 5 values inside this particular variable list 1. Now if I check the type of this list 1, what do you think would be the output? If I check type of list 1, list, correct. So it won't show like what are the values inside it. So it's going to give you like, it's a list. So, and likewise, you can create a list of groceries. So like you can have milk. So you can create a list of thousands of values inside it. So this is a list I've created for groceries. So you can create it for roll numbers, like any example. So you can try this. Just that you have to create a list using the square brackets. So if I just have something called like this, empty brackets. If I check the type of A, what do you think would be the output?
List.
List, correct. So it's an empty list. When you have square brackets, that means a list is created. So we have in and not in keywords. So these are like small lists where you have 3 or 5 elements. Just if someone asks you like if 4 is in this particular list, we can just go through it and answer true or false. But if you have thousands, like lakhs of values inside a list, it becomes difficult to know if that particular value is inside the list or not. So we can use in and not in keyword. Like if an item exists in a list, then it returns true. Otherwise it returns false. And similarly, not in keyword is the exact opposite to this in keyword. If an item exists in a list, then not in returns false actually. So when we write in negation, so it will return false. So we can use any example. Here we have created groceries list, honey, right? So what I can do is honey in groceries. So if I just run this, it's true because it was there inside the list. The same example, if I just run it, not in groceries. So it's there, I'm writing not in, so it's false. So in bigger codes, like, if you want to use a list and then write a conditional statement, like, if that particular value is inside the list, then like, uh, maybe like it's an employee list, you want to see like if that particular person employee id is on inside the list already, not to give the same employee id to have a different id. So we can use them in like different context uh, with this in and not in keyword. So let's see features of list. So as we can see here, it says like, when someone asks you what are the features of Python list, we can say it's ordered, mutable, heterogeneous, and dynamic. Ordered in the sense, in schools we all have rule numbers, right? The same way, elements in a list have a defined order. So this 1 2 3 4 5 has an order to it. So but the order starts from 0. We are going to see the order in the next activity. So this order will not change unless explicitly modified, and it's mutable. Once a list is created, we can change the list by adding items, removing and modifying elements, because soon after list we are going to see a data structure called tuple, where it's not mutable. Once a tuple is created, you cannot add, remove or modify elements. So we call it like immutable. So this is like mutable. Uh, List is mutable where you can change after the creation by adding, removing or modifying elements. And heterogeneous, like that means like you just create a list here with similar data types in it, right? So you have numbers here, then you have strings here, but you can have different data types inside a list, and list can grow and shrink in size needed. So let's start with heterogeneous. So let's see if we can have different data types inside a list. So
Meenakshi, can you show us once, like how can we remove a value from a list?
we are going to do all that, Yatin. So first
Okay,
we'll
okay.
start with, yeah, so we have activity of removing and all. So we are going to cover all different features. So first
So,
we'll start with multiple data types. So
Meenakshi,
let me,
one.
yeah.
So, can we? I'm to say like we don't have to mention the list. I'm going to say like the list name in front of
No,
groceries.
like here you want to give a different name.
I'm to say no. List space groceries, something like that. Normally we do like variables, right? Uh,
Yeah, this is
li-
a variable. Like you can give any name here. Like you can just write list two and create it. So depending on the values, you can give the name. Since I was just creating a list where I have different groceries inside it, so I just created groceries as a name for it. So you can have any, like the names of the list again applies the Python identifiers where you have to follow the rules. So
no.
first class we spoke about Python
What he's
identifiers.
trying to say is
Uh,
how do you try to tell that groceries is a type of list? Do
so
you
just
have to write list dot groceries or list something like
no.
the way we
No,
specify?
no,
For
That's what he's
example,
no,
trying
no.
to ask.
in
So
JavaScript, we say like let or var or const.
No, no. Here you can directly create a list. You don't have to write anything like that. Only for module, like the special functions which are using inside from a module, then we use the syntax of module name dot function name. But for list, it's very simple. Like, you just create a variable kind of name on the left side, and you just use the square brackets and you give values inside it. That's it with the Python.
So we don't have to mention any keywords. Okay.
No, and no keywords required. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So, okay, let's create a list where we can store multiple data types inside it. So let me just create a list name, and then I can just like give string, and then I can have a number. Then let me have a float, it's a decimal values, and then I can have a boolean. So you can see like we have 4 different data types here, and if I just print it, so you can see that Python list can store values of different data types. So it's heterogeneous. And then we can use count function. Like here we have again very less items. So we can directly count how many true values are there. It's 1. But if you have a list with multiple values or a bigger list, so we can use count function, and the syntax is list name dot count. And then whatever item we are counting, we have to write it inside the count function. So count function is predefined function or user defined function.
Predefined.
Predefined.
Predefined one.
Yeah, predefined. It's a ready-made function, so we don't have to write any code for it. So I just want to count how many 6 are there. So I just give 6
So
here.
you
Yeah,
need to
we need to.
import any
You,
module.
No,
We
we
don't
don't have
require.
to import for this any function. Yeah. So today we just imported one function which is random from random. But for Python list, all the functions are ready-made, and we don't have to import anything. We can directly use it. So it's it's going to give you the count of how many times 6 appears. So if you want to count how many times A was repeated, what would be the output now? Will this be showing,
3.
giving us 3? Sure.
No, no, no. We need the double quotation, right?
Correct. So if I just run this, like it's a 0 now because there's no A. And so we need to give quotations if it's a string again. So
But if I need blank, it is giving error.
uh, so list.count takes exactly one argument,
So if we
0
have a
given.
space in between two,
So we
will
have a
that
space.
count as one?
Space is a character. Like for space, we have to give it inside the quotations.
Okay, only if it inside the quotation
Yeah,
it will count it. Okay.
yeah. So like when we talk about string operations, when we dive into string, then we'll talk about this. Like for the space also, it is calculated as one character. So for checking if the spaces are there, like you have to give it in quotations. So this is a simple count function we can use on a list. And then if you want to add new items to a list, we have a function called append. So to add an item to a Python list, we can use this append function. New item always gets added at the rightmost end of the list. So to use the append function again, here for the numbers, if I just want to append 1000, then I just write dot append and the value which I want to add to that particular list, and then if I just see it, you can see like the 1000 got added at the rightmost end of the list. So you can now run it again, so you'll see that one more 1000 got added. So append is a function to add items to a list. So and then we can have then we can check the length of a list using len function. So now we have like many different items inside a numbers list if you want to check. Now the syntax is little different for len function. Till now when we were using append function, count function, first we were giving list name dot append and then the item whatever you are adding here. But len function, it's not like list name dot len, but you write len and then you give the list name inside it. So we have no control on this syntax rules. It's from the backend, so we just have to follow them. Now you can see that length of this particular list numbers is 17.
Is
But
it because one is a function and the other is a method?
both like functions and
The
methods, we can interchangeably use it here. So we don't give reasons like why this is like this, because it is how the Python author has created. So yeah,
okay.
if you just use this, then it would throw error. List object has no attribute length. Okay, so next we are going to list indexing. So we just said, like, lists are ordered. So as rule numbers, list also have indexing. So which indicates the location of element and always starts from 0, not 1. So indexing here for the list starts from 0, not 1. We call it like zero based indexing. So you can actually, once you create a list, you can get elements from the list by calling their index numbers. The same with us in the schools, right? So we all have our own names, but we used to have our rule numbers too. So when teacher calls us like rule number 20, step out. So we do respond with our rule numbers also. The same way, in a list has values inside it, but list has indexing. So indexing is nothing but it indicates the location of the element, and it always starts from 0, not 1. So to get an item located at each index in a list, we just have to write the list name followed by square brackets. Inside that, we have to give the index number. So here for this particular numbers list, if you want to get an element which is at 9, so I just give a higher level. So what do you think would be the index number of this 9 here? So we said like it starts from 0. So these are the rule
9.
numbers,
9,
so on.
8, no, 8,
It
8.
will be 9.
So you just have to count, and it starts from 0. So if I just give 8, so this is the list name. Don't get confused, like these are the numbers inside it, but we are trying to retrieve it with the index number. So if I just write numbers of 8, so you got this value, so 9. So you just have to count from 0. So if this is 0 here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we just got retrieved 9 by using the index number 9 here. So yeah, using this, so we have a different list where you have different Indian languages from Hindi to Punjabi. So if I want to check the length of this Indian language, which function? I don't want to manually count now. So we just saw a
Then,
function, length
Length
then
function,
function.
right?
Yeah.
If I use length function and give the list name, then I'm going to get the length of the list, which is 10. So we have 10 different languages inside this particular list, Indian underscore language. So now if I want to retrieve an item, like if I want to retrieve Marathi in the output, what is the index number of Marathi?
3.
3,
3.
Yeah.
Correct. So 3. So what I just have to do is first the list name, not language. So 3. So you can either, yeah. So what is the index number of Punjabi then?
-1.
Yeah, that's correct. Okay, that is also correct. But 0, like positive indexing.
Go to the last one, ninth, right?
Yeah.
9.
9. 9.
9,
9.
9.
Correct. 9.
9.
It's not correct. Correct. So it's starting from 0, so it's 9. So then we can get the last item. So when you have a huge list, if you just want to access the elements which are in the end, so to make that easier, so we have negative indexing too. So someone said like it's -1, right? So that is also correct, because the only reason that we have uh, negative indexing and zero based indexing both is that, like, if you have a bigger list, so it's easier to access the last elements using negative indexing like this. So -1 is also Punjabi, so we have that as next activity. You can also use negative indexing to get items from a list. So negative indexing starts with -1, not 0 again, so we have only 0, right? So it doesn't make sense to have -0. So negative indexing starts with -1 and it will go till -n, where n is the number of items in a list. So last item in the list will be -1. First item will be -n, where n is the length of the list, right? So now using negative indexing, it would be like -1, -2, -3, so on till, so the length is like 10, so -10. So two rule numbers, like zero base, you have like 0, 1, 2, 3, so on till 9. So negative indexing, it starts from -1, -2, -3, so on till -10. So let me just run it. So if I want to get the first element, then I can use -10 here using negative indexing, or you can use the zero based indexing where you have to give 0. Both will work. Yeah. So these are few yeah, few features we have explored till now. Like, we started with indexing. Any questions with indexing, list indexing?
So Meenakshi, how to find the index of, for example, we have the index of Marathi. Which index?
Okay, we can find it again. Like, we are going to see that activity, like, index of an item, like how to find an index of an item, coming soon. So
Okay.
good. So, like, yeah, it also makes sense. Like, we can, it's a small list where we can count like 0, 1, 2, 3. But if you have a list with like 1,000, 2,000, or like lakhs of values inside it, it doesn't make sense. We keep on counting the index, right? So we can even calculate, like, we can use a function to get an index number directly, which is coming soon.
Okay.
So, okay, for loops. So we saw while loops yesterday. uh, we are going to see for loops, not yesterday, like, yeah, last week. So for loop is also for looping, so to repeat something. But here the for loop is used to repeat or iterate a set of statements for a fixed number of items. If you want to print first 5 natural numbers using for loop, so first we are going to use a ready-made function called range, where you are going to give the start number and the end number. Then you can generate numbers from 1 to 5. So we have used the same to generate numbers from 1 to 5, we have used while loop before. So we are going to write both and understand the difference between for loop and while loop soon. So the above code can read as, like, for every number in the range 1 to 6. So this is a ready-made function here which we are using inside the for loop. So in the range 1 to 6 and except 6. So when you use the range function, when you write 1 comma 6, it includes number from 1 to 5. The last number is not included. So yeah, let's just take it with an example, then talk more about range function. So if I just want to generate numbers like from 1 to 5, what I write is, for I in range is a ready-made function. So I have to give a range, like I want to have numbers from 1 to 5, but the range function will operate the start number and the last number is not included actually. If I write 1 to 5, if I print it, the values are printed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the last number is not included. So I just have to write 1 to 6. So the same values like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if I want to generate using while loop, then what I would have written is, like, the start number. I have created a variable, then I'll give a condition, well, I less than or equal to 5. Then I want to print I. Then I need a increment statement. So it's a shortcut of writing I is equal to I plus 1. Then you are going to get the same values in the output. What do you think would be the difference between for loop and while loop? Now that you got the for loop, that doesn't mean like, while loop is not useful for us.
No, while first checks the condition,
Correct.
whereas
Correct. While checks the condition, if it's true, then only then we'll execute the statements, right? So when you are looping something where you have a condition, based on a condition, we want the looping has to be happen, then we have to go for the while loop. When you know the prefix range before, you know what is the range of it, then we can directly use the for loop. So both are important at their own paces. So yeah, so Python can get the same output using different concepts. So depending on the use case, we can use the concept which is required for us. So with the same range function, if I use like for I in range 0, comma 6, so colon is a syntax here, print I, what would be the output?
0 to 5.
0 to 5, correct. So start number is 0, 6 is not included, it's 0 to 5. So if I just use the same thing, I don't give the start number. If I just write 6, what would be the output for the range function?
0 to 5.
0 to 5.
0 to 5, correct. So it won't be only 0. So when the start index is not mentioned, by default it starts from 0. So this is about the range function. If you don't give the start value, it will start from 0 and the last number is not included with the range function. So here,
So for
yeah.
for loops, can we still use a condition in for loop? Conditional for loop.
So for I in, and you have to give a condition. A condition we usually go for the while loop. So for the for loop, we directly use ready-made functions. So you can directly try with a condition here. So let me give an example. Okay. Uh, like we are going to print from the list, for example, for I in Indian language. So it's a list name. Then for printing, so if I want to print all the languages, Indian languages using the for loop, what would what should be my print statement?
Will die.
So print I. So if I just
No,
print,
no, print index of like we
correct,
have to iterate the indexes of I.
correct. So we can, like, if we want to print just Bengali, then we would have written one, right? So with different index values, we get different values. So we have to generate something similar to this. So for I in Indian language, print I would work here because it would be taking numbers from the, yeah. So it would be taking items from the list, but using the index number, if you want to print, then you need the I value to be a index number, like numbers here from 0 to 9. So what would be the, instead of range, what should I write here? For I in, yeah, I want to print
Range of
Indian,
index of I.
yeah, if I just want to print Indian language of I, so where I will now be numbers from 0 to 9. So
Yeah.
here you can use range function and give directly the length. We know like length, what should be the range now? There are
Yeah,
different
0
ways
to
of
9.
giving. 0 to
0 to 11.
0 to 11. So it would take from, so list index out of range. So it was 0 to 9.
9.
So either you can do this, or you can directly give, like if it's a big list, you can directly write length of Indian language. So you can combine all that and get it. So again, you can try different, uh, you can try using negative indexing to print. So if I want to print it reverse order, what should be the range and what should be the print statement if I want to if I want to print this in reverse order? I want Punjabi, Odia, Malayalam, Kannada, and so on. So you can take a minute and try.
colon minus one.
Okay, yeah, we are going to see that like with this condition. Like you can take a minute and you can all try on your labs. Try printing this using the for loop and the reverse order using the indexing method.
You can do minus I.
Minus I, correct. Then, okay. So if I just take it, simply if I just put minus I just got Hindi, Bengali, Telugu, yeah, but only that, I just didn't got the last item.
Yeah, in that case, you'll have to increment, I think. I you are taking from the list, right? So minus one,
Yeah,
minus two, that kind of thing we'll have to do here.
so you have to think of a logic where you just start from minus
So
1,
you have to give a length plus one.
length plus 1, okay.
No, Hindi is coming twice.
Yeah.
So
So take this as a homework for this reverse order. Like we want to print using list indexing, but we want to print it in reverse order. Don't use Google or ChatGPT. So just try, like, you just have to think of the logic. We know that the indexing number starts from minus 1 for the last item, minus 2, so on till minus n. So try this activity where you just have to do something with this print statement where uh, you want to see the output Punjabi, Odia, Malayalam, so on. You can try this.
yeah,
And next we are going to see easier ways of doing it. But yeah, so we just retrieved all the items from the Indian list. So we can use follow with different use cases like this. Maybe like if you have a list and then you can give a condition using the if conditionals and then get the output. So depending on like how we want to use the follow. So and next, tomorrow we are going to see list comprehension method where we are going, it is nothing but the shortcut of list. So where for loop is very important. How we use the for loop and conditions to get simple output in a single line. So we'll see that tomorrow with list comprehension where, yeah, for loop is the heart of list comprehension. So you can try this activity, which is homework again. Yeah. So we all have access to answers in seconds using the internet, but you just try this. Okay, so then list slicing. As the name indicates, list slicing is nothing but if you want to uh, slice a list. So you want to, I just have to, you can slice a list using the indexing numbers, like you can give the start index and end index, and you want to break a list, we can do that. Like, for example, if I just want to have a list only from Hindi 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if I give, what would be the output here? Will the last, the value which is at index number 5 is included or not? What do
No.
you think? No, right?
No.
0,
It
1,
will exclude.
correct. So as the range function, similar to range function, here also the last value, when we use the slicing method where you use the square brackets, you give the start index, colon, and then the end index. So the last value is not included. So these things we have to remember, like using the range function, the last value is not included. Using uh, list slicing, when the last, here also the last value is not included. These things we have to remember. So let's retrieve the first items of Indian language without mentioning the start index. So here also similar to range function, if you just don't mention the start value, so by default you're going to get it from 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In the similar way, if you just don't mention the last value, if I say like start from 3 colon and run it, you're going to get from 0, 1, 2, 3. It's from Marathi to the end. So if you don't give the end index, by default it will take it till the end. If you don't give the start index, so it will start from the start. So write a code to see all the languages in the list starting from Bengali to Kannada. So what should be my start index and end index, where I want to see it from Bengali to Kannada in the output.
1,
Okay, Indian
1 to 7. 1 and 7.
1
8.
and 7,
1 to 8.
1 to 8,
1 and 7.
1 and 7. Yeah, I got Malayalam added because last index is not included. You can count it again. So it's 1 and 7 is correct. So this is how slicing works. So you can also skip intermediate items while retrieving a few items from a list by adding a third parameter, which is number of items to be skipped. So if I just want to have alternate items, so I can have the third parameter, which is, so by, like, when you just write colon, that means by default you want all the items to be printed. So first start index, end index, if I just write 2, so you're going to get the alternate items. So this is the actual list: Hindi, Bengali, Telugu, so on. So Hindi, then the Bengali is skipped, then you got the Telugu, then the Tamil got yeah, so we don't got Bengali, Marathi, and then Gujarati, Malayalam, Odia, and Punjabi. So when you give the third parameter, is the number of items to be skipped. So if you are retrieving all the items from a list, you can actually do not have to mention the start and end indices. You just give the colon. That means you're going to print all the items of the list. And to retrieve all the items from a list in the reverse order, so using simple indexing method, like using the colon, so you just have to write colon colon -1. Someone was right, like you can directly retrieve using colon colon -1, but using the for loop you just have to think of a logic there. So using the negative indexing -1 after the second colon. So if you just write 3 here, so 2 items would be skipped. So then Bengali Telugu got skipped, then Tamil Gujarati got skipped, and then Malayalam Odia got skipped. So only things what we have to remember from the list is that we can have different data types in the list, and then list is mutable. Like once the list is created, there are a lot of different functions which we can use on the list to add new items, remove items from a list, so on. And then list has indexing. So index is nothing but the location of that particular item. So using indexing, you can retrieve elements of a list, and we have zero based indexing and negative indexing, and you can slice a list. So these are the different features we have seen about list till now. So next we are going to see like index of an item, like removing an item and so on. So do practice these activities, like don't get confused with the start and end index. So these concepts are easy, but for the first timers who are doing this for the first time, they might feel confused, like what is this colon and all. It's just that syntax, like how to retrieve items from the list. So you can do practice with different examples. It's not really difficult. So next is getting index of an item. So you just have to write list name dot index. So for whichever element we want to find the index of it, we give that particular item inside the list. So then you are going to get index of that particular item. So if you have a very huge list also, this way it would work. But now you might have this question, like if you have a list where we have, then you have, then you want, yeah. So if I want to find list one dot index, what do you think would be the output?
0.
0. Correct. So if you have duplicate values, so just check what is happening here. What would be the output?
3.
3. Correct. So like when you have duplicate values, it is going to give the index value of the uh, first time it's appearing here. So if you have multiple values, so when you use to find the index of that particular item, then you're going to get it like of the first time it going to see it. So this is one thing with the index function. So then like if you feel like there are repetitive, there's a possibility of repetitive items, then which function to know, like how many times that particular item is repeating?
Count.
Count.
Count, yeah.
Yeah, count function. So count function. So you can get the index number. So to get all the index numbers of that particular repetitive item, then we have to write a few lines of code to find like what are the different, where are the different places we can have that particular item repeated. So let's not complicate for now. So let's see the features for now. So once we start learning different concepts, so we can use all of them together to solve complex problems. So for now, we are just trying to understand what is a list, what are the different features, what is the simple syntax of it. Let's not complicate it with taking a difficult examples for now. And again, like removing a function, removing an item from a list, simple, like list name dot remove. So whatever item we are removing, we just have to write it inside the function. Since it's a string we are removing, that's the reason we are giving it in quotation. If it's a integer, so we don't give quotation. So it's not the part of syntax here. So since we are removing Tamil, we just got, I run it once. So you can see that Tamil is not here anymore. I just already removed it. If I run it again, what do you think would happen?
Same result.
Same result. So I just already I removed Tamil already. So if I want to run it again, so if an element doesn't exist inside that vertical list, so it says like, X not in list. So this particular Tamil is not in the list. So I'll just rerun the actual list which we have created here. So the remove function is to remove item from a list. So again, we have a pop function which does a similar job. You can also remove an item from a list using another function called pop. So it has two different behaviors. Like if you do not specify any input for the pop function, it will always remove only the last item of a Python list. And so you can see that like before popping, so you have Hindi till till Punjabi. We don't have Tamil now because we just removed Tamil using the remove function. When we have used pop function, right, dot pop, so it will remove the last value. So the second behavior is that if you give the index number, then you can remove that particular item. So if I say like you remove 1, then 0 and 1, which is Bengali, so it is going to remove the Bengali now. So it's not giving you the list, remaining list. It's just showing like, which item got popped. So Bengali got popped. Now you don't have Bengali here. So you just have Hindi, Telugu, so on. So again, like based on the use case, so we have pop function, we have remove function. You can use any of that depending on like what you are actually removing. So item replacement. So if you have an item inside a list, if you want to replace it with a new item, so you can use this indexing method to do it. So for example, we have a list called cars for Toyota and BMW. I want to replace Toyota with Honda. Then the syntax is list name. Inside the square brackets, we have to give the index. Again, if you know the index number, you can directly give the index number. If you don't know the index number, we just saw like how to get the index number of a particular item using this syntax here, list name dot index and that particular item. So if you don't know the index number, then you can use that particular function index and so list name dot index of the current item. If you want to replace Toyota, then I would have written so the same cars of list name is again cars dot index of Toyota. Then I want to replace it with, like I just replace it with H and I can just have cars. So here, so this statement here is to get only the index number since, okay, let's create bracket. Okay, I just didn't define cars here. So here, once I run this cars here, so I know the index number of Toyota is 1. So I want to replace it with Honda. So the output was Ford, Honda and BMW. And now the list is like Ford, Honda and BMW, this is the updated list, right? So if I just run this now, like cars.index Toyota, so it would say Toyota is not in the list because I just changed the list. So
Actually, but what if we have multiple Toyotas in the list, and if we
it
do it
would
with the
replace the first value then.
first value?
Yeah. So if you want to replace all the titles, yeah. So soon you're going to see a lot of ready-made functions which will make this task for you. But for now, with all the concepts we have learned, like if you want to replace all the titles, you need to add some conditions and you need to add like few lines of code. So with Python, it's very beginner friendly because there are a lot of user-defined functions which we can directly use it. So here, yeah, and good question, yeah. So now it's like cast.index Toyota, and we also saw this before. Like if you have multiple same repetitive items, you're going to get the index of the first one. So with the same activity, you can replace is using this particular. So first you are getting the index number and you are assigning new value to it. That's it. Equal to new value. So cars at 1 we have Toyota, and then we want to assign H in place of Toyota. That's what we are doing for item replacement. So old value is index number and we want to give that new value for that particular location. So this is how you can do the item replacement. Sorting a list, so you can sort a list using sort function. So when you use sort function, by default you are going to get it in the ascending order, smaller to bigger values. So if you want to sort it in the descending order, then you have to use reverse equal to true inside the sort function. You have to give a parameter reverse equal to true for sorting. But if you have multiple data types, what do you think would happen with sort? I think it's a list one where we had multiple items. No, it was list two, which we have given about. Okay, let's just create on. So if you have multiple data types, like if you want to sort a list with multiple data types, so it will throw error because less than not supported between instances of string and integer. So make sure you sort it between similar data types. If you have strings, then you use sort. So let me just put it. So it will sort based on the ASCII number. So when we talk about strings, we'll see the ASCII numbers because you have small case letters, uppercase letters. So how the sorting happens, we'll explore more when we talk about strings. So when you're using sort function, make sure you have like similar data types. So then again, inserting an element into your list, you can insert a element into your list using insert function. So whatever element we are inserting, and you have to give the index number, like where you want to insert, like A, B, D, E. Then you want to insert C here, which is the index location is like 0, 1, 2. So I just write like 2 comma insert C. Then you are going to insert a new element at that particular designation, because with append function, if you append C, then it would have been added to the end. So the same thing, if I want to add, so if I want to append, then I'll append using append function, then it would be in the end. So A, B, D, E, C. But if you want to append in a particular location, then you can use the insert function. You can give the index number and where we want to insert it. So okay, it's only 8, 10. So we just saw a simple list. So we have to see the 2D list and 3D list. So we'll stop it here for today. So we are going to see how we can create a 2D list inside list tomorrow. And then we see like how to create a 3D list where you have rows, columns and blocks. So we'll see again, then we are going to talk about list indexing of 2D list and 3D list tomorrow. So it's not difficult concepts again. It's like just that we have 2D, 3D. So we'll talk about it with simple examples. And if you are interested, if you have time, so the activities and the text part is here. You can start exploring, but we'll discuss this tomorrow again. So these are the like simple features we spoke about list, what's the data structure, and uh, where you can store multiple values inside a single variable. And we have like different data structures. It's not a lone list. So we have list, tuples, dictionaries, sets, so on. So we'll see what are different, like what are the difference between them, and slowly you'll get understand what is a dictionary, what is the difference between list and dictionary, where to use what. You understand all of them, and all of them are similar, like If you have felt today's class is easy with list, it's easy with tuples, it's easy with dictionaries. So and don't try to buy heart, like I always tell, like, don't try to buy heart any function names and all. Some syntaxes with practice you get used to it. And if you like range function, the end index is not included. These small things you just start remembering them, but that too, like, don't force yourself. With practice you get used to them. So see you all tomorrow. If you have questions, you can stay back. If not, have a nice day. So from someone from other places, like, good night, take care. See you tomorrow.
Good night.
Good night. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.